Welcome to the Quiet Constellation. I'm your host, Misty Meadows. This is a place where we gently explore the thoughts and feelings we've tucked away over time and rediscover the parts of ourselves that still know the way. Tonight I've been thinking about something many of us experience when we start to look inward. That quiet loneliness that can appear when we begin healing. In this last transition, where I wanted to create some massive changes, they had forced me to cut off some people that I didn't really think that I would have to. Some of these people were my family members and some new friends that I had made along the way. On one hand, it had felt like losing the last of my support system when over the majority of my 20s, I had been slowly culling away all of the people that no longer aligned with what I wanted, or they just weren't people that I wanted to keep in my life anymore. But these were people that I still would like to call, that I still feel that I want to go and talk through things once things have gone on. The isolation for me really started to kick in when all I wanted to do was to call someone up just to talk about everything and nothing all at the same time. But each time I want to call this person, I think about what happens when I talk to them, the feelings that start to happen in my body, how my chest starts to tighten, my throat starts to close, and slowly the pieces of me that I was once excited to share, they slowly start to slip away from me until it's no longer a back and forth conversation. And it really starts to make me think that the reason that I had walked away from them was knowing that it was the best for me. Not keeping them in my circle meant that I had the space to really take up for me. And unfortunately, lots of times what ends up happening is these thoughts of, I miss them, I wonder what could have happened if I had just said this, or if this moment had went differently. And then you start to notice how the mind begins to spiral down a path. A path that becomes almost subconscious in our day-to-day. It interrupts what we're doing, just the mundane, and slowly it becomes all-consuming. So for me, once this moment within the isolation starts to creep up, where that loneliness really starts to take over and I get in my head, I do what I call a mourning of the relationship. And that mourning of what could have been is what is allowed for greater expansion. And what I mean by that is, for example, one of the people that I have recently cut off was my mother. And now, this was not easy for me. I have let my mom back in a few times, and I've walked away a few times. And each time was slightly less painful, but that hope, that want, and that longing for that mother-daughter relationship was still there. It was still wanted. So for me to take that time and to really get quiet and start to reflect, and for me, I prefer to do my meditations and my reflections in the bath. It's where I feel comfy, it's where I feel safe, and it's where I feel chill. It's actually where I'm doing this first podcast, is in my bathtub. But for me, once I really decide that this is what I want to do and I want to leave this space for myself, I decide to go in with an intention of, I'm going to feel what I would have felt in those moments. For example, in moments where I was alone and I desperately wanted somebody to be there for me. And when I did reach out, the reaction was explosive. It wasn't appropriate for the situation at hand. And in the end, it ended up making everything 10 times worse than it needed to be. And there was more cleanup than necessary if I had just chosen to bear that alone. But thinking back on it, at the time, I would have been 12, 13, when some of these things would have been happening. So that's a natural one, is for your mom. And when you grow up like this, constantly yearning, constantly waiting for that parental role to show up in your life, you find a lot of excuses. And you start to go along with a lot of that narrative that they would have been feeding you and that you would have been raised with. Because it's not just from them, they would have grown up with it too, right? So it's coming from grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, you know, their friend groups as well that are introduced into the family. It's a cycle that is constant. And I find in these periods of isolation, when you truly let yourself wander and think of these moments and let yourself feel what should have been in that moment instead of what was, and then forgive them and yourself ultimately for probably allowing this cycle to repeat far longer than it should have, because I know I did. I am 28 years old, and it was a lesson that was very, very hard to learn. However, it was a lesson that was necessary. And once I understood what should have been and what could have been, and the fact that holding on for what I seen could be, or for what I even wanted in that relationship, was only going to hold me back further from what I wanted, and ultimately keep me in self-destructive relationships. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted a bigger, brighter future. I wanted to feel like my time was balanced and worth something. Like I didn't have to constantly grind and graft for approval or for the want of just recognition or love. So walking away from that, left me feeling like I had no other place to turn, right? That was my mom. You want to call your mom when things happen, when you've had a good day, when you've had a bad day. You want that connection, and to not have that anymore, it really does feel lonely and isolating. Something that I have wondered though from all of these times is, how do we find that strength in the loneliness that this introspection and healing can create? Because to lose a support system, it can feel almost life ending. It feels like there's nowhere to turn to. The mind starts to spiral. We start to grasp at straws, and we start to look for external validation or external distractions. For example, one of my biggest challenges is taking on other people's problems and issues and deep diving into helping them, just so that I don't have to think about my own and deal with my own. That's not fair to myself or the people I'm helping, because ultimately I am taking that away from the experience of both of us. Because if I were to show up in that situation 100% authentic, it would look and feel much different for both parties. There's not a constant give and take that isn't balanced, For example, when you do that, when you invest solely in someone else, the give and take becomes give, with very little receive in return. And that's not okay. So once we've reached this point of constantly wanting to look externally, this is where we need to take a step back and realize that the introspection is there for a reason, and it's not isolating us for a bad purpose. It's isolating us from the distractions and things that were pulling from our energy, things that were exhausting us, things that were trying to teach us. Now, we have talked a bit about growth and expansion that comes in these times of loneliness that can occur when we are healing, and how it can be essential for growth, and how it creates a pinpoint to see what was draining us. So now we've talked a bit about the growth and the expansion that can come in these times of isolation that occur when we're healing, and how these times are essential for growth. How in this space we can identify what is working and what is draining, and the parts that we enjoy and we would like to expand and start playing with. This isn't to say complete isolation is the key. This moving into isolation or isolated living and completely being cut off from the world is not the goal of healing or introspection work. This practice, as you go about life events, you will notice will start to come in waves or patterns. It's not being in isolation all the time, but moments and periods of time that we start to take and reflect to understand what is going on in this human experience. It's just temporary. Same as this period of isolation. It will just be temporary. However, sometimes those moments, they last longer, and this is because at different stages of time and periods of our life, more time and more energy is required to make that shift, to make the changes, and to create the space for the new life that you truly want to come in. That work can be draining, and that's what requires us to take the time to recharge and do the workings that we need to do, whether it's mourn, journal, or just take a walk to clear our heads. That part, that isolated moment, is the time where you start to plant the seeds for the next chapter after we remove all of the dead weight from before. And I found that these quiet moments after I had mourned and I had made those space, I had started to see all the things that I wanted. I had no clue how to get there, but that quiet showed me what I was good at. Not only what I could start to learn, but how my body was starting to react, the signals it was trying to communicate with me. I could learn what an internal yes was, what an internal no was. And then when resistance would come up in life, I was quicker to ask, with this resistance, what is the lesson in this? And why am I having just this inability to go forward with the task or with the project that I want to do, instead of asking, what's wrong with me and why can't I just do this? And once you start to do this has also created a relationship that is much better and much stronger with my mental health. And I feel like it's much easier to just move through the motions. Depression isn't as hard as it used to be. When anxiety creeps up, it's a lot easier to pinpoint those moments. And sometimes my depression is coming from a lack of connection after these periods of isolation where I've just went through and cut off and called off and mourned. And after that, in this depression state, I know in my soul and in my heart that I've done all this for a reason, because what was no longer serving me was only hurting and draining me. And now I know that everything that will fall out is only going to fall out to lift up my experience in this lifetime instead of hinder it. Now, I do want to ask you, where in your life has quiet or solitude recently appeared? And what might that period be trying to show you? When you think on this memory, I want you to notice the sensations that come up in your body or the emotions that are coming up in your chest or throat as you explore these thoughts. Do any other moments in time start to pop up? Or does your mind choose to fixate on a specific thing? Ask yourself, what is this feeling or this moment trying to tell me? And what can I learn from myself in this moment? And what could possibly ease the tension at this time? I wanted to close this conversation off with some guidance from Source. I'm going to pull a card and we'll see what the intention of is for this reading. Tonight's card is the Five of Cups. It carries the energy of disappointment, setbacks, and perspectives. This card is asking us to look at our perspective on the current situations, the setbacks and disappointments that have come with it, that are leading us to feel astray and frustrated, instead of allowing these moments of delay to upheave your progress. Think what was learned from this and what can be used going forward. Perhaps it's a gentle reminder to notice where this theme is quietly appearing in your life. I would like to thank my guides and my spirits that walk with us. Thank you for your presence and for the insight shared tonight. Until our paths cross again under the same quiet sky, good night.